Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And oh boy, we're going to talk about the comic book industry because this is really interesting. We have covered off and on for years the situation with mainstream comics and with YouTubers covering comics and Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate and all that crap, which, you know, for the most part, we're kind of at arm's length on it here. But one of the big catalysts for the backlash against the mainstream comic book industry was actually Mark Waid trying to keep people out of comics.
Right. That was a lot of people who turned at that point. Like a lot of people were like, okay, well, I'm just hearing it's just these man baby whatever. And then when he did that, they were like, wait a minute. He allegedly did that. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so that's actually what dragged us into the situation, because that was for us seeing somebody, a professional like Mark Waid, try to keep somebody he disagreed with politically. It was politics or whatever personal beef he had with your boy Zach. Taking that to the next level and trying to tank a publishing deal. For us, it was like, okay, this has reached peak idiocy at this point.
Yeah, because now
right?
you're like, that's just going too far.
You're messing with somebody's money, right? And that's kind of what dragged us into it. We actually knew Mark somewhat. We talked to him before about doing some webcomic stuff back in the day. Look, to be completely fair, never had a negative interaction with Mark.
No.
But apparently he and Rob Liefeld do not get along well, and Rob Liefeld slaps the shit out of him on Facebook.
It's kind of funny.
This is kind of funny because what Mark Waid is complaining about now, and we're going to talk about Patrick Zircher too. He's another one who was going after YouTubers, and he's saying the same thing that they were. What Mark Waid is complaining about is older professionals not getting a phone call anymore because they're too old, too male, and too white, basically, which is what people were complaining about.
Right, and then he allegedly there was this dark, shadowy organization, and they were like, he was part of it allegedly, and they were like, you know, working in the shadows, you know, trying to like, get people, you know, mostly against Zach, from my understanding, your boy Zach. But he supposedly was part of that too, and it was okay then. You know, we know that he did go to Antarctic Press and try to get that tank. That actually went out in court, so that's something that's not, not already known. But now he's pissed about the exact same damn thing that everybody else was mad about when he tried to get them in trouble. So they come for you last, Mark, but they still come for you.
This is exactly everything that YouTubers were saying. Now, again, we can argue whether or not, you know, you drag politics into it or whatever. That was the first dividing line was, well, their political opinions are wrong. And now it's getting down to, okay, now that we're here, now that we're running out of work, now that the mainstream comic book industry is kind of fizzling out, and yeah, you can say comics are doing better than ever. Graphic novels and manga,
yeah,
but not your monthly floppy books. Now that DC is looking at potentially just licensing out all their comics to Todd McFarlane, who is actually an older guy too.
Right.
But, so now that your prospects are drying up, guys like Mark Waid and guys like Patrick Zircher, who once threw in with the anti-crowd, are now complaining.
When you said prospects are drying up, I thought you were saying prostate is drying up.
Well, that could be a problem too. That could be a problem too. Anyway, let's talk about this because I gotta tell you, I like Rob Liefeld more and more. I was a huge fan back in the day.
You wouldn't even talk to him.
I didn't. I was afraid he'd be a douchebag.
Us.
I was afraid he was going to be a douchebag. He was. He sat behind us an entire weekend at Wizard World.
And you wouldn't go talk to him.
You
were too afraid. I kept saying, go talk to him.
No, I'm like, what if he's a dick? And then I got to think like, my one interaction with Rob Liefeld, and he was a dick the whole time.
I don't think he would have been. He seemed pretty nice to me. He was being nice to everyone. And then you could have just gone and said hi to him. He would have probably been fine with it. But you were too afraid of him to go.
I wasn't afraid of Rob Liefeld.
You were.
No.
I think you were afraid of your heroes disappointing you. But
hey, it happens a lot. I gotta tell you, it does.
I mean, I had to talk you into going and seeing Don Rosa too. You weren't going to go do that.
It wound up working for.
I know, but you should have gone and talked to him. He was right there the whole time.
I love Don Rosa. Okay, anyway, let's talk about this because this is it's untrue, and I think because actually a lot of the people now making a lot of money in crowdfunding are older people who have basically not gotten that phone call, but that didn't stop them. They went out and they made their own money, and you can do it. It doesn't matter what your age is, whatever. I mean, hell, There are cartoonists. Carl Barks was still drawn at 99 years old, you know? So don't tell me that. So we're
I
going
gotta get you a Carl Barks something some point.
Good luck with that. They're expensive.
I know.
Anyway, let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 276,000 subs. Yay! Thank you for the support. So we do talk about the comic book industry, having worked in and around the comic book industry, not as much as Mark Waid and Rob Liefeld. They were, for sure, but, spent about 10 years doing licensed comics and then realized, hey, there wasn't a lot of money in comics.
We did, we've done like 10 years in webcomics at least.
Oh, yeah, we did that too.
More than that.
Now, again, not working on mainline.
14 years?
14 years?
When you count the stuff you were doing before.
Oh, it was probably about 14, 15 years. Yeah.
And if you go back even further than that, you were like doing webcomics, helping your one friend put webcomics up online when,
In the late 90s.
I know. And the person, I'm not going to say it was, but the person fought Neon about putting his comics online. Neon did all the work and put online for him, and then this person went around for years saying that they were one of the pioneers of webcomics. It was hilarious.
It was very funny. That person didn't even know how the internet really worked. And so my thing was like, I always wound up having a day job, and my day job happened to be web development. So
yeah, so always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Pretty much. Well, who's the bridezilla now, bitches? Clownfish TV. We're the bridezillas. All right, so let's talk about this, because I just think this is incredibly ironic, given that Waid was basically like, well, it's just, you're a bunch of dinosaurs and maybe you're just toxic and you just shouldn't be in the comic book industry.
You vote the wrong way. Remember when you can read comic books and you had no idea how someone voted who worked on it? You didn't care. You just wanted to know if they could draw nice and tell a good story.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Now, the weird thing is that, in Kingdom Come, look, I love Kingdom Come. A lot of people love Kingdom Come. And I think Mark Waid actually is a solid writer, and he was doing
He said I was a good writer once.
He did. I don't know if that,
I don't know if that's a compliment now, but,
I don't know if he would say that now. Because
no, probably not, because, but it'll probably see how I vote. Go ahead.
So this happened like a month ago, but Bounding in the Comics put an article up. I completely missed this. I don't, Here's the thing. I don't follow the day-to-day comic book drama very much. Because it's tiresome and nobody really cares at this point. Like, everybody has moved on. They're either gonna support comics they like, and they'll buy the comics they like, and they'll support the crowdfunders they like, or they're not going to. Mm-hmm. But the drama around it, I don't give a shit.
Well, let's talk about the drama. People are like, "Could you just get to the point?"
We're getting to the point. So this is his Facebook post, and basically Rob Liefeld jumps in, tells him to stop whining. Mark Waid says, "For beginners and aspiring God, this is long."
Mark Waid.
For beginners and aspiring creators, I offer you some observations on the life cycle of a comics creator, a mixture of advice and cautionary tales. Now, I can support this too. He's not completely wrong. Take of this what you will. Bring a sandwich. It's a long read. Oh, shit.
Do I have to get the kitchen to make you a sandwich?
Make me a sandwich. As in any industry, creative or otherwise, there's an ageism in the comics industry.
This is true.
No matter your skill, no one gets to stay the new hot fan favorite eternally.
I think that's just the nature of it in general.
Yeah.
They used to burn people out on purpose, and then they go and find somebody else.
Yeah, because they're younger, cheaper.
Same with Hollywood, with music, with any industry.
There's the natural assumption among editors and fans, right or wrong, that no one can keep consistently hitting homers forever. The creators who are the most punished by this, to me, seem to be the ones whose style, however lauded or commercial in the past, has become so locked and predictable, it doesn't seem as fresh and attractive to readers and editors as it once did.
Yeah, well, that's true, but that's why you should always make sure that you're growing and changing with the times, and then you might be able to last longer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say that's true, and that's why you should always make all the DC characters gay all of a sudden.
No.
Right. Because that's basically what's
I've seen some creators that, they keep drawing the same style from like the 80s or something. And it's like, and there's other creators that adapt with the times, and they kind of like change their style and grow and then they seem to last longer.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. There is a demand, and you can see this from the crowdfunding, crowdfunding that he dunked on. There is a demand for 80s, 90s style work.
You mean about good stories and not how people identify and sleep with?
People want the old X-Men. People want the older Spider-Man stories. They want them now. They've actually went back and, now X-Men, they're trying to do a throwback because the current X-Men, which we're going to get to because Patrick Zircher is like, oh my God, the X-Men now is just a mess. But people want the older style stories again because they're like, shit, this new shit is shit. It's
continue.
Not good. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bad luck or bad brace can add sometimes can and sometimes do take players off the field while they're still vital.
Me. He's saying me.
No one deserves to be blamed from circumstances wholly out of their control. And there are always outlying cases. But as a rule, the creators who keep working are the ones who are honest about their shortcomings and the ways they can improve, who take responsibility for their fate and their path.
Except the ones I don't like, and then I make sure
I accepted the responsibility for their path.
I accepted the responsibility.
Well, no, I didn't accept the responsibility, but I took it upon myself and then didn't accept the responsibility. Go ahead.
As the gatekeeper of the comic book industry, I decided there were certain people that shouldn't be published anywhere. They accept that they might need to modify, add to, or level up what they have to say and or how they say it in order to stay relevant.
Oh, so you have to pander to Twitter to stay relevant?
That is exactly what he's saying.
That's what you just said, Mark.
That is exactly what he's saying.
How'd that work out for you, Mark?
While at the same time never becoming simply imitative, they refuse to calcify and refuse to become a nostalgia act. They never stop striving to, oh my God, this is so, like, he's basically like, I had to change what I did because I don't want to get...
Here, let me fix this. Let me fix this for you. I refuse to calcify and refuse to become a nostalgia act. I never stop striving to learn and to better my skills.
Hire me, please. Hire me, please. I'm not a sad old white man.
This is the best. This gets better. Go ahead.
Don't buy into their own status or think it somehow absolves them from meeting deadlines, being fun to work with.
Oh, you're a party.
Or being professional. Yes, again, threatening another publisher, threatening, because he was in charge of, I guess, the retailer organization or whatever, that, boy, it'd be a real shame if everybody stopped carrying Antarctic Press books, because you published that bigot I don't like. And it wasn't over politics. It was because he didn't like that he was being singled out and his friends were being singled out for criticism. That's what the whole thing was about. It was absolutely a personal vendetta, and I lost pretty much.
I get personal vendettas.
But, you have no idea.
At least be honest about what it is.
Like, I think you're a fuckface, and I'm gonna dog you until the end of time. That's how just say it. Just say it.
Be upfront.
Like, we're never gonna be friends. Just say it.
Most of all, I think they continue to investigate, absorb, appreciate, and find genuine joy in whatever are the best comics and graphic novels of the day, discovering new storytelling tricks and clever additions to the language of the medium that they can incorporate into their own work and elevate it. Basically, discover all the shit they're trying to push out to get gigs, and you pander to that to make sure you get to keep your jobs.
That's
the language of the
No, he's basically saying, well, one, he's saying, please hire me, right? Because I don't think the phone's ringing for him as much as it used to. Please hire me, but also, well, to my peers who are complaining they're not getting work anymore, maybe if you just try being a little more woke, a little more progressive, get a man bun. I know a lot of you don't have hair, but, just, I don't know, filter or something. But yeah, you'd be fine. You'd be fine. Come out is suddenly bi, even though you've been married.
I was gonna say wear a bra. So some people need
years.
You might actually find that it's comfortable because you might actually need one.
Anyway, Rob Liefeld, interesting. Given the bitter source that wrote this, notorious whiner. I mean, seriously, this is the guy who created Deadpool.
He doesn't even care. He just like.
I would argue at this point in time, because of the popularity of Deadpool, which he did create, but I mean, there were some other creators involved there too, but he is most closely associated with Deadpool. I would say he's actually more relevant now. Like, I know when he does comics and he did like Snake Eyes book, stuff like that, it still sold. People listen to what he says.
Basically, you put his name on it, it sells.
It sells.
I'm just going to
be
honest.
It still sells. And you can whine about his art or whatever, it still sells. His books still sell. So then, Mark, oh God, this is so ironic. You have something you want to say directly to me, Rob, just call or write. You don't have to go behind my back and take cheap shots in public when, to the best of my memory, I've never done you that disservice. No, but he's done it to a lot of other people. And then he's gone behind the scenes and stirred shit up behind the scenes.
Allegedly.
I have...
Wink, wink.
Let me put it to you this way. I have some close friends in the comic book industry who have had this individual come to them with concerns about things they were saying on Twitter or Facebook. It'd be a real shame if your phone didn't ring anymore. It'd be a real shame if you didn't get work anymore. If you keep talking like you're talking, they call them night letters. Like, you might want to just rethink that. Yeah. So yeah, coming from him, this is highly ironic.
I know. It is hilarious. It's actually funny as hell.
As a rule, I find it pretty classless and embarrassing for everyone involved when creators attack one another over some personal matter in public. What the fuck?
Oh, but he clarified by saying in public. He prefers to do it in private.
He prefers to do it in private. And again, I have multiple people.
In the shadows where heroes don't stay.
Multiple people that I know in the comic book industry that have gotten night letters from Mr. Waid because he was concerned about their behavior.
And there was alleged, discussions about these groups that were these shadow groups that were trying to...
Of which he was involved in.
Yeah, that they were trying to get stuff done to Zach and different things that happened because they didn't like him.
Yes.
They didn't like what he was doing, calling attention to things they didn't want called attention to.
They didn't like the fact that we had YouTubers, and I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, they didn't like the fact that we had YouTubers out there pulling eyeballs away from the vetted media sources like Comic Book Resources and Bleeding Cool and all of that. And so a whole cabal of these people who didn't like the apple cart to be upset got together and decided they were going to try to deplatform the YouTubers, and actually backfire because they wound up making millions of dollars.
Right, and that's where, Antarctic Press dropped a book and everything else. And, I just think it's funny, we should attack another of a personal matter in public. Right, you specified in public. So I give him that because that's not usually how he does it. He usually does it in the shadows. If we have issues between us that I'm unaware of, let's deal with them privately. He just called you out because you were you're going around doing all this stuff behind the scenes, and then you're put this big thing up, which is pretty much hire me and people need to be more woke to adapt. And then you get and then they call you out and you're mad.
God, this is ridiculous. So this is Mark Waid. Facebook. Oh my God, he's still going out. If you shake these people like a piggy bank, you can hear. So this is his anti CG rant, I guess. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there are stories because these are his peers. Chuck Dixon and Aaron Lopresti. These people have been under attack. And again, we're not Comicsgate. We don't do the streams. We don't whatever. I only kind of sort of know what's going on, but I can tell you that at least in the early days, Mark Waid was heavily involved in trying to gatekeep the comic book industry, which led to the creation of Comicsgate. So if you want to blame one person for the creation of Comicsgate, it was Mark Waid trying to gatekeep the comic book industry. That was the big catalyst. I think it was going on before
that, but that's what turned a lot of people. I think it was already in existence. It was already on that way. But I think that Antarctic Press incident, I think, was what turned a lot of people. Because people were like, wait, what?
That was the tipping point, because what happened was because Zach didn't have any other options because Waid took the mainstream publishing. And honestly, if he put Jawbreakers out through Antarctic Press, it would have done okay.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is that's the turning point that all of these campaigns started making ridiculous money.
Yes.
Okay, yes. I think it existed before that, but that's what set them off into the path of actually being financially successful.
Yes, and he's trying to put the genie back in the bottle, and there's a bunch of them trying to put the genie back in the bottle.
Don't you put genie in a bottle?
You can't put genie in a bottle.
That's a phobic thing to do.
But that, I mean, again, armchair observation, Mark Waid going after Richard C. Meyer was what led to Comicsgate becoming a crowdfunding thing and making millions of dollars off of geeks who felt disenfranchised by the mainstream comic book industry. And now he's complaining basically that he can't get work, that his phone's not ringing. I'm thinking it might not even be because of your skill. It might be because people are like, well, shit, Wade's kind of a troublemaker. We don't want the drama. We're just not going to.
I think it's about drama. I think a lot of it's drama because, even if you're trying to make a quote unquote amends now, it's not.
I just think it's hilarious that Rob Liefeld's like, shut the hell up, Mark. Stop whining, Mark. Now, it's not just Waid.
Shut up, Wesley. Shut up,
Wesley.
Mark.
Shut up, Mark.
Shut up, Waid.
Shut up,
Sounds like Wesley. Shut up, Waid.
Yeah, I mean, after that, I lost. I mean, look, you don't have to agree with what these YouTubers are saying. You don't have to agree with the politics. You don't have to agree with, if they're really coming at your friends hard, whatever. But skulking around the shadows and trying to shut off somebody's money, even if you disagree with a person, when you look at that objectively and you're like, holy shit, this is the lengths that the mainstream comic book industry will go to keep people out they don't like. That is scary as hell. It doesn't matter if you agree with the person or not. You got to look at this, especially as an independent creator, and be like, this is what the mainstream comic book industry will do to you if you don't toe the line.
But the next thing is, what were they afraid of?
Millions of dollars.
Right. I was going to say, though, the deal, what difference would it have made? If you're so sure that you're on the side of good and right, and no one agrees with this person, the book wouldn't have sold. End of discussion. What were you so afraid of? Anyway.
What has happened? This is what they tried to stop.
Eventually it was going to happen. Anyway, people are going to start catching on that, wait a minute. It's just some people are just slower than others.
Well, okay, so speaking of slower than others, Patrick Zircher, this is a guy who's been very vocally anti-Comicsgate on Twitter, as far as I can tell.
Well, you have to make sure you are so that they keep giving you work.
Well, no, and that's exactly what Mark Waid was saying.
But a lot of the gatekeepers are getting booted. That's the kicker.
Bill Sienkiewicz, same thing. He started saying things that people on YouTube had been saying. And he was getting some backlash for that. But here's Patrick Zircher, who was going it hard, I guess, at Van Sciver, and he was out there every day. Again, I think it's you virtue signal, and Waid basically said you virtue signal to make sure that editors and your peers know you're the right kind of person. Even if you're an older white dude, we got to make sure you're the right kind of person.
But here's the thing, though. A lot of the people that are their peers and stuff agree with the statement of the majority, which I think is more like the Comicsgate people, because that's why the stuff isn't selling. But they're too afraid to say that, or they have been in the past, because we had that shadow network of women and all this other crap that were doing all these shitty things, which now they've apparently got, a lot of them got listed as troublemakers, and they aren't getting work either, and they're getting booted like crazy. So now these people feel safer to go out and call this shit out, because now they don't have to virtue signal to these individuals anymore.
Why are some of the instigators of all this drama having to go out and do GoFundMes for basic office equipment and their living expenses? If they're that hot that the comic book industry, and really we're talking like less than 5% of the people working in comics were causing 95% of the problems. And really, I think, if everybody just took those people out of the equation, okay, and sat down and talked, I think you'd find out that things aren't as,
And talked for legitimately, not just what you thought you had to say,
No.
but told people what you really felt. I think people are starting to feel safe, because now these people are getting gone to actually come out and say what they really feel. But to me, that's just kind of cowardly, because you should have done it in the first place,
How many people had to go through hell for over the last 4 or 5 years now because of people that maybe could have, stood up and did something, and they didn't do it. They let them get eaten by Twitter. They let them get eaten by their peers. They let them get
but they're
blacklisted.
still standing, and then they're seeing that, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, right?
Now the threat's going away. It's time to stand up now.
But you have to remember who actually was there when it was going down, who was standing their ground, who was putting up... Because what's going to happen is these people are going to come in after the fact and be like, oh, looks like it's safe now. I'm just going to come on in the crowdfunding, and I'm going to do that. Hey there, fellow kids.
This gets good. Just hold on.
Yeah, so this is Patrick Zircher. Again, this is a guy who's been, I would consider him anti-Comicsgate, I guess. I'm trying to keep track of who hates who. I have no effing idea. I know his name has come up before as someone who's dunked on Comicsgate. So he said a lot of superheroes are very metrosexual lately.
No shit.
Groomed, hipster-haired, sexually ambiguous. A lot of overlap between costumes and gay bi culture. Working with 6 redesigns of known characters, and well, all the males are very pretty. The women are strong. Not sure that makes story sense with 3 of them. It reminds me of when they revamped Tony Stark as Teen Tony, except they're not teenagers. Not a trend I love. I think it's partially a manga influence. No,
don't insult manga that way.
Don't insult manga.
Manga has characters that identify different ways, but they do it in a way that's just like accepted and it's just there. It's not like they have to change other characters to make them that way to get popularity. They got popularity on their own merit, and they also, people have to earn things. They aren't just given it because they're them and they're the right kind of person. Do not sully manga in such a way.
Not manga. It's the editors in charge. They want to turn.
They're barely out of their teens.
They're barely out of their teens because that's what they can afford.
Manga.
Well, who the hell else is going to work at Marvel in New York for $30,000 a year? I mean, seriously. Not sure making the heroes look younger, hipper than their age will attract young readers. It's not going to. It's going to be like, hey, they're fellow kids. Kirby's Captain America looked 34. It didn't scare kids away. Some of the art style drawings that look like they're from fashion magazines. Heroes with less muscle tone, male model thin, strong interest in their hair and clothes. Are we talking about the X-Men? Because the X-Men have become really glammed up, and they look like it's like a gay club or something now. Like they do the gala thing, the gala, emphasis on gay. And the X-Men have been totally glammed up. Like they used to fight giant robots and aliens, and also racism. But giant robots and aliens, and now they're all like partying all the time.
Yeah.
Clubbing all the time. They're going clubbing. Cue lots of people posting images from all manner of classic superhero comic books that also fit that model, as well as George Washington. Patrick Zircher replied. So basically he got dogpiled on Twitter. No, it doesn't make sense. Heroes are very physical. They punch stuff. More or less diametrically the opposite of queer culture. I wonder about sales. Queer culture books don't rank. Oh my God, how dare you, Patrick? How dare you? You sound like Comicsgate. Queer culture books don't rank so high in sales. I think it's an attempt at pleasing everyone, which no one can do.
True.
I was looking at a queer horror anthology a couple of weeks ago. It ranked in sales number 53 among horror anthologies. Horror, not horror. It'll be interesting how much crossover will succeed. All the stuff I just tweeted, there are creators who are literally afraid to say it. Patrick! Patrick! Patrick!
Oh, it's safe to say it now.
Dude! Seriously! 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 Masculinity is out of question.
It's okay when you do it.
It's okay when you do it. That's not a false observation. We live in weird times. Masculinity is out of question.
Out of fashion.
Or out of fashion. It's out of question
too.
Have you seen the DC books? Holy shit. Yet the alternative hasn't proven to be a sales driver in superhero comics. I think maybe someone should take a facts or facts look at things. I think they used to call metrosexuals dandies.
Oh!
Oh my God, you're digging yourself a deeper hole, Patrick.
He's even going further than most people would even go to begin with.
Back in my day, we had a word for men like you. And it was kind of like a bundle of sticks. I never thought of superheroes as dandies. They weren't written as dandies. Hawkeye maybe back in the day. That's true. Hawkeye was a little, you know. Just received the most recent Luke Cage reference. Happy to say he looks like a man, not a teenager or metrosexual. Not wearing a scarf.
Because he's black.
Not wearing a scarf, a bare midriff, or fancy haircut. Ironically, he started out wearing a tiara. Oh God. So there's pushback. Dude, you've literally drawn Midnighter with his own image. But yeah, but Midnighter didn't look. Oh my God. Joe Glass. Oh God. So you think queer people don't fight?
No one's saying that.
No one's saying that. Punching is the opposite of queer culture. You've got a right to whatever opinion you like, but we've had to fight for it. Oh my God. You just stepped in it, son. Tom Taylor, who is basically gayed up Superman.
Well, I gotta tell you though, I thought him saying that punching thing was, I was like, that's not really accurate, but okay. But you know.
Heather Onto. So all the usual suspects. Punching is the opposite of queer culture. Oh my God. Patrick Zircher was
Heather Ontos, who took a break from crowdfunding her office equipment, decided to
took a break to tweet this hot take. Not backing down on this. An uneffeminate, unmasculine design for masculine characters is the wrong design. People want to read more into it. Let them. Bullshit is bullshit. 50,000 people want to pretend it's pizza and eat it. That's their business. I'm not going to. It's also worth noting that Patrick Zircher hates Comicsgate and Comicsgate hates him. This is an argument that certain Comicsgate folk may warm to. It'll be interesting to see how they square that circle. Interestingly enough, Eric Larson, of all people, Eric Larson went on, I think, John Delarose's channel, and John Delarose they consider him further right than... So it does seem to me...
I was saying, you mean like they're actually talking to people who think differently than them and they have this conversation?
Like it used to be?
Like it always was?
It does seem to me that a certain demographic of older, seasoned male professionals are starting to realize that they're not really wanted in the mainstream comic book industry anymore, that they're kind of slowly being pushed out. And they're like, oh shit, my peers...
They come for you last.
They come
keep telling you
last.
this.
They come for
I want
you
to mention this wasn't Bleeding Cool because we don't think we said that, did we? This article was Bleeding Cool. So
this was Bleeding Cool.
I gave them credit because I don't like to not give them
it's
credit.
Bleeding Cool. So yeah, that's the thing. I mean, honestly, the drama going on as we watch the mainstream comic book industry just eat itself is more interesting than anything coming out of the mainstream comic book industry, because it's just all fanfic at this point, and none of it matters.
And I'm sorry, pointing out that a lot of characters are now suddenly different than they ever been. Pointing out that you have all these dudes running around with like half shirts on, all this weird stuff. And I love how, when they had women like that, it was a problem. But when you do men like that, it's completely fine. And people pointing out the characters aren't acting like themselves, and they keep changing them for no damn good reason other than like points, agenda points. It's not anything that's, oh my God, how dare you? But they keep turning it into this, oh my God, how dare you? It's just like, Emperor's new clothes. Emperor's not wearing any damn clothes. And people are pointing it out. And then they're like, how dare you?
He's wearing a little bit of clothes. He's wearing a midriff now.
I'm just saying.
And a man bun. That's it. Just a midriff and a man bun.
It's just like, I don't know.
It's over. I mean, these guys are starting to realize, like, you were literally, like, again, you don't have to agree with somebody's politics, but the fact that you were not even willing to have a conversation objectively about the state of the comic book, and that's the thing. Take the politics out of it, right? Take the politics out of it and just look at what's going on here with the mainstream comic book industry.
They're not selling?
It's not selling. You guys are getting pushed out. They're changing characters for no good reason other than to change them to try to appeal to a phantom audience.
Well, that and shock value to get people to buy it.
And that's not
working.
That's not a political statement. I mean, we're starting to see more and more mainstream out, like Comic Book Resources. I was shocked the other day they did that article talking about how DC might be better off just licensing out their characters.
Right, because they keep changing it. So even the people that you think you're pandering to are like, what the hell? Because there's this crazy thought here. People who don't identify as white, straight, and male might also like the characters as they were. Yeah. You could be gay and appreciate a straight character and vice versa.
The reason I think that, with Comicsgate, with the right-wing angle, the conservative angle, is because they were the ones who felt it first. Because the first wave was, let's get rid of...
It was over election shit.
It was over election shit. The first wave was, let's get rid of anybody who...
voted for Trump.
Yeah, voted for Trump.
Let's be honest, that's what it was.
Anybody who voted for Trump, who publicly supported Trump, let's get rid of them first. And then, again, we start moving the goalpost, and now we're seeing what's actually going on, which is basically we're going to flush everybody out of the comic book industry who hasn't gotten into the comic book industry in the last 5 or 10 years, who isn't one of our friends, who isn't one of our vetted people, who doesn't have the same really progressive politics we have, and who isn't on board with us just changing everything. You're all getting flushed out of the industry. And now you're complaining about it when there's 5 or 6 years of history there. You can see they kept moving the goalpost and moving the goalpost and moving, and now they're coming for you. So congratulations, you enabled this. In fact, I would say you helped create this situation. And, there you go. I don't know. I don't really feel bad for him. I can't feel bad for him. I think Rob Liefeld's completely right. So there we go.
Right.
Wrapping it up?
Yep.
Okay. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.